To join this conversation. This conversation is pivotal because as Detective Belknap went forward with his expert testimony, there were some questions that came up with you all on the panel, they're in the chat, and I would like for those to be addressed. So let me just pull up the questions that came up. Welcome to the stage, Dirty Weather 916. Introduce yourself.
Hello.
Hello. Introduce yourself. I mean, people know who you are, but people on the watchback may not know who you are. We are also expecting one or two more former gang members to the panel so that we can just discuss and answer these questions that came up in the chat on yesterday.
Or let us answer it at separate times
Okay.
and see the difference in the answers or the consistency.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to post the first question because I took a note of them. I'll post the first question in the chat. And that question was, do gang members have jobs or roles or positions in a gang? I do believe that question came from Sharon. And Sharon, please feel free to click the link to come up to the panel. You don't have to show your face, but it would be nice to have you here.
I would say that you said like jobs and stuff within the organization, like working for the gang.
I do believe that is what she meant. That's how I took it. But if that's not what you meant, Sharon, please clarify in the chat or come up to the panel to clarify.
Well, there is such thing as ranks, like in gangs and stuff. And you can look at it as a job. It's your obligation to your gang. But as far as it, like, nah, I don't agree with that. There's jobs within gangs, but I don't know. I don't know the way they try to look at it and pinpoint it. Don't make sense to me. You have obligations, but you don't necessarily have like jobs. Your job is to grab this 50 sack and take it to Billy Bob. That's your job.
Okay. What about
Right.
is there like an hierarchy like for this particular case? Of course, we know that Jeffrey Williams, YSL, Young Thug, is being alleged to be the leader. So the leader to me would be like a role that he plays. And then Sharon is in the comments now. She's saying, I was wondering if they are gainfully employed. That was her question. So before we get to gainfully employed, let's answer that question. So hierarchy wise.
Hierarchy wise, there's gonna always be some type of parliament. You gotta have a leader or something to have a gang. Otherwise, you're like a pack of lions, which is not bad either. But if you're in a gang, you're gonna have some type of spokesperson, shot caller, something like that. You can't just be a headless horse. You can't do it. So you're gonna be some type of ranking. And then the other thing is, do they have jobs? I mean, not to sound like it was a dumb question, but yes, there are gang members that are gangfully employed. There are.
Okay, that's a great question because what we have learned is that some of these gang members are becoming gang members at a very early age. So to me, okay, of course you have to be what 15, 16 now to have gainful employment
I
at
think
least
15 and a half or something like that.
15 and a half. Okay, okay. No problem, Nate. If you want to just hit the link again and maybe just hit the mute button, it would be nice to just have you up here. Or you can just answer questions in the chat. That's just fine. So for those who are watching and those who are on the watch back, what we have here, we're on a lunch break with the YSL Young Thug RICO trial. They are on lunch break, and yesterday we encountered the detective Belknap, which is a gang expert or alleged gang expert for the state. So several questions came up surrounding gangs. So who we have here present now is Dirty Weather 916 and Nate Dogg 916, who are former gang members. Am I saying that correctly? Former gang members.
Former gang bangers.
Well, oh, okay. Oh, that's a great question. Former gang bangers. So that leads me to, and we'll circle back to the question: gang member versus gang banger. Is there a difference?
Yeah, gang banger is that youngster you talking about that's out there on the block killing people, doing a bunch of illicit activities, and in the name of his neighborhood. So putting it down is what we used to call it earlier. You putting it down for your hood, then yeah, you're a gang banger because you're banging your hood. But a gang member is somebody that's from the hood that represents their hood,
Mm-hmm.
but they've matured past a certain level. Gang banging is for the people that's quote unquote out there in the field.
Okay. So is one better than the other, or
Uh, nah, gang banging is just fresh. Like that stuff for youngsters, but it's fresh. Like if you first from your neighborhood, a lot of people do gang bang because they want to put their neighborhood on the map, or they want to put it down and feel like they really from where they from. So they be
Mhm.
out there banging. But a gang member is moved on in his life. Like you're gonna always be where you from.
Okay, I think I get it. I think I get it. So of course, as parents and as as a mother, we don't want our kids to be involved with gangs, whether they're a gang member or a gang banger. So because I can't see any positivity in it. Now, like you say, like you're representing your neighborhood. um I don't know, like I can represent,
Okay.
I can be a neighborhood watch and not be a gang member, you know what I'm saying, if it's just representing my neighborhood.
And it's closer. Being a gang member is almost closer to. It's closer to representing your neighborhood than just banging your neighborhood. Like banging your neighborhood, you're gonna have all your neighborhood gear on. You can walk out there and throw up gang signs, twist your finger, you banging.
Okay, okay.
But a gang member is somebody that's pretty much they've done everything for that they can for their hood, and now they've moved on with in their life and have productive, financially gainful employment jobs.
Mm,
Those are the gang members. They used to be that guy. Now they live in their life, but they still from where they're from.
gotcha. Okay, okay. That's a thank you for that. So, as a mother, back to that. Thank you for that clarification. As a mother and as parents, we don't like that's not our desire to have our kids to join a gang. Whether it's they represent their hood or their neighborhood or whatever, we don't want them to be part of gangs. So, what can be done? Like in your opinion?
How to deter the kids? It's well, first off, it's community. Communities get them involved in that type of stuff. The positive things that are going on. Those people that are getting involved in gangs, they ain't gonna have nothing but time on their hands.
Hmm. So, like what, the latchkey kid?
No, not latchkey because if you try to lock them in, then they're gonna use other ways. They're gonna find other ways to get out, whether it's through social media or the back door unlocked or anywhere. So you don't want to necessarily say that.
So, what I mean by the latchkey kid is the kid that the parents work and the kid has to go back and forth to school. They got to walk to school. They got to walk home from school. They have a key that is latched on their neck or wherever they have it. And so they're pretty much on their own while their parents are working. So that's what we call a latchkey kid.
A lot
So
of time.
what do we do? What do we do for our latchkey kids that live in a neighborhood where gangs are prominent, or they're more susceptible to getting pulled or drawn in to a gang?
Let me ask Nate.
I know Nate said he had horrible reception, but if you want to try again, Nate, to unmute and kind of expound on that if you
Can you
can.
guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yep.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
As far as the latchkey kids, um, I think you gotta. I mean, I know everybody got to work and all that. You just got to know the surroundings you got your latchkey kid living in, because and in these days and times, I mean, I got trackers on my kids. I got cameras all over my house. I need to
Mm-hmm.
know where you at all times. Like, it ain't gonna be no hanging out. You know what I mean? And as far as and that goes for the latchkey kids, because me and my wife both work, and my teenagers, they get off school, they come home, but I make sure I check in and call them as soon as they get to the house, and I know where they're at and what they're doing. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't know everything." That's okay, but I'm gonna know enough to keep them out them streets.
That's right. That's right. So that ties back to, like you were saying, Dirty. It's the community that you have your children in, but then it also starts at home. What are you doing to prevent your child from getting pulled into the wrong crowd, whether it's being in a gang or just being with the wrong people, um, or whatnot? So that's pivotal. So can you all give just like a little background on your former gang activity and how you got pulled into gangs or a gang?
Hold on, hold on,
Okay.
hold on. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second.
Sure.
What you just said about that, I think one of the most important things to do with kids these days is make sure they know they can talk to you. Like,
That part.
make sure they know, not just talk to me, but know that you can trust that I'm not just gonna get on you just because you say something I don't like. Like, understand you can come to me before you got to go to anybody else. I'm sorry for the interruption.
No, that's true.
That's real talk. That's real talk. So what happened? How did you all get involved with gangs? That's why you're up here. You are a former gang member or former slash gang banger. How in the entire world did you get involved with it? What was it?
Some people
Well,
like. Oh, go ahead.
me
Go ahead.
personally, me personally, I feel like I got involved because, like, it was basically like my mom was kind of like absent. She was there, but not. I didn't have a father. So when all I was doing was out hanging out with the homies in the hood anyway. And then that, just as we got older, it transitioned to, okay, now we got to make sure we not letting nobody else come in our hood tripping. And then before you knew it, it was like, well, hold on, our neighborhood done turned into gay. I guess we glad now. And then we just started turning up on that type of time. It's not like I got trapped into nothing that I didn't want to be a part of. I felt like at the beginning of my situation, I felt like I was defending my neighborhood by representing my neighborhood, or giving back to my neighborhood at the same time. Not giving back in the sense that we see it today, but giving back in the sense that my sisters didn't have school clothes unless I went out there and grinded for it. And you wasn't just grinding in my neighborhood if you wasn't a part of my neighborhood. But go ahead. I'm out.
I would say knowing my bloodline alone, like that like my whole family been from Del Paso Heights. Like all my aunts and uncles went to Grant. My grandma was a teacher at Grant. My daddy is still work for Grant. So I've been all strongly tied. And then I can remember being a kid, living in the manors, and living in living in the plazas, and then leaving to the south there, and then coming back, and I remember how it felt. And so I'm in junior high, and I'm going to Martin Luther King, and I didn't even know what a Crip was back then. Like back then, there were Crips from the neighborhood, but there wasn't that many versus us. So then one day I moved to from we moved. I was going to Martin Luther King. We went to Foothill, and from what I picked up, what as a seventh grader in junior high, that's what taught me who my enemy was, because I didn't know nothing about anybody from the manors. Well, I did, but I didn't know them being my enemies until then. So then you get develop a sense of pride from you being from your neighborhood. Yeah, you don't got to get jumped in. Like some areas you do got to get jumped in, but no, it's how it's how and where you grew up, and the sense of pride that you feel to your community. And then when I got to so I'm a teenager, I'm a blood, but I'm actually a blood that's cool with Crips and hella other people. So I wasn't really necessarily gang banging like that, but I knew where I was from and who I was, and that nobody was gonna tell me different. And then what happened is when I went to prison, that's when I realized, it's more to being a blood. When I got around other real bloods that was from like LA, like this don't mean I wasn't a real blood, but I knew what it meant to really be a blood. Like I didn't learn that until really I got to prison.
Okay, so are both of you saying that you never gang banged?
No, I'm not saying that. That was part of it. That was
Uh,
part of being young.
and then when you crossed over and went to prison, was it still considered gang banging?
Oh yeah. Because if something happened, I mean, they try to minimize the gang banging activities because it's a black thing, but truthfully, it's some gang bangers. And if
Mm.
my homies might be some gang bangers. They might never grew up past a certain level, or they might be young. They get into it with somebody else, somebody that said F they hood or throw up some gang signs in their face. And the next thing you know, it's a fight. That's a gang fight. That's over some banging stuff.
That's pivotal. I mean, that's great. So what I hear you all saying is, what is this? What I hear you saying is that you were a gang banger, a former gang banger, and now that you're older, you're always going to be tied to the gang. But instead of banging, and banging means like you're active in your hood, like you're participating in the gang activities, right?
Okay, I can get a little break it down a little more. Like
Okay.
in Del Paso Heights, they have a hood called
Mm-hmm.
Elm Street, right across the street from the high school. They come from the hood and they have natural born enemies. Like as soon as they from this gang, they got a natural born enemy in the manners. So when they go back and forth, shooting at each other, whatever, when they used to, hopefully not now, but back then, that was gang banging because they're from Elm, and Elm does not get along with the manners. So you can be from the Heights, you can be from the Heights and not even be a blood. Like you're literally a blood because of being from the Heights, unless you from a Crip gang.
Wow. So it's all tying, for me, what I'm hearing is all tying back to that latchkey kid, or that kid that didn't have that parental supervision at home, because most parents are going to try to deter you from doing that. But in your situation, your family was involved. Your family was the role model or the path that you wanted to follow. Is that correct?
Yeah, my uncle, my big cousin. Yeah, I did want to be like them. One was a baller, and one was just a hood fixture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it seemed like it was cool to be a part of that.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Another question that came up was, okay, so the gang expert he talked a lot about being in a gang and what constitutes a person being in a gang. But the real question was, is it illegal to be a gang member?
Definitely. Um, I don't see the way that California gets it. They want to slap gang enhancements on any and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have been a former gang banger, living your life, a former, but you got these tattoos on your face still, or you got this long history.
Mm-hmm.
You're literally gonna have to prove to California that you are no longer a gang banger, and that you are now living just a gang member or somebody that still or still is from where you from, but you living your life. You gonna have to prove that to California. Otherwise, they're gonna slap some gang enhancements on you.
Okay, so it's so what I hear is it's not illegal to be a part of a gang, but it is illegal to commit crimes in the name of the gang and furtherance of the gang.
Yep, enhancement.
Because you could go into prison, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a gang member or even a gang banger, and you can commit crimes. But if those crimes are isolated to you just committing crime, then that's your crime. You're going to take the charge for it. But if you are committing those crimes to further the gang, then that's when gang member, gang banging, being a part of a gang becomes illegal because you're committing crimes in furtherance of the gang. Is that right?
Organized, but yeah, because when you step into organized crime,
Then
when
it's
it's
considered.
organized crime, that's a completely different thing. That means that stuff is that everything is operating for a purpose or a person or
Mm-hmm.
a cause. They all pushing like one big machine toward that. That's organized crime.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. So listen, what we are doing right now, you all, is we are streaming the Young Thug YSL RICO trial. We are on day 4. They're on lunch break. Yesterday, we had Detective Bill Knapp, which is a gang expert for the Atlanta Police Department. He spoke a lot on gangs. So today we're going to use today's lunch break to either discuss, debunk, or give further explanation to some things that he was saying, because there was a lot of comments in the chat, and I wanted to bring up some real former gang members. We have Dirty Weather 916 and we have Nate Dogg 916. I invited Benji, I think I have the wrong number for him, and also Smoke Dog, and I think he had to work. So I posted the link. If you would like to hit the link and share your experience and help answer some of these questions for our audience, that would be great. The link is posted. I'm going to go to thank you, Dirty Weather. Nate was having a bad reception, so he dropped off, and hopefully he'll click back on. But I have a couple of more questions here. Here's one right here. Pros and cons. Are there pros and are there cons of being a gang member? And now, Dirty, you helped us understand that there's 2 types of gang members. There's a gang member and a gang banger. So a gang banger, and help me, correct me if I'm wrong. A gang banger is someone that they're involved with the gang, but they're active in their community. They're committing crimes. They are putting in that work.
That's a
Versus
gangbanger.
that's a gang banger. So a gang member is someone who joined the gang, but they're not active like that. They're not committing crimes. They're just basically repping their hood.
And they not putting it out there in everybody's face. They just living their life now. But if you ask them, they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're speaking California. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we're speaking California because different rules apply. Is that correct? Different rules apply for gangs depending on what their geographical location, or is it basically just a blanket?
Nah, it's they get a little different. Like some gangs are more organized than others. Like
Okay.
some gangs you'll join and you'll never even know who's at the top. Some gangs you'll join and they know exactly who at the top and what their role is, and they accept it.
And we talked about roles earlier, so we know that we definitely know there's a leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is that structure like? Is it, and this could go with one of the pros of being a gang member. When you're a gang member, you want to have some type of rank, correct?
Yep. But listen, look at this. From Del Paso Heights, there's no one person that is the leader. Like
Oh,
there's no one person. But when you are part of like a gang in a sense where you gang banging, you're gonna have a leader.
You're gonna have a leader.
You're gonna have a head.
Okay. Okay. And what do they call these heads? And I'm not trying to um, incriminate or anything like that. This is public knowledge. People know about this already. Are they
The
called
the
OGs?
big homie.
Oh, the big homie. Okay, okay, okay. So they don't walk around saying, I'm the leader or he's our leader.
No, it just come from experience and experience and rank and status. Like experience and rank and status when you're part of a gang, like that comes into play. Like you just can't join a gang and you ain't put in no work or you ain't made your name ring. You just a nobody. So you're nobody from a nobody gang. So you got to switch it up and be a somebody from a somebody gang, and then you feel that sense of pride. Next to you know, you got a gun in your waist and you on the block.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's gangbanging.
Mm. So is that one of the pros of being a gang member? That you
Uh,
get
I
that
wouldn't necessarily say there's pros to being a gang member, but as we know in life, there are situations where there's strength in numbers, and so sometimes I guess there could be a pro if you are have that clan mentality.
mm-hmm.
There's the cons is, I mean, there's so many. I wouldn't know where to start.
Hmm. What about something that I can think of is, I mean, I've never been a part of a gang, um, unless you want to consider my church family a gang. And churches sometimes have organized, they're organized, that's for sure. But what about like those who they don't have that family structure? They don't have a positive or negative, for that matter, just any role model in their home, and they're left at home to fend for themselves. And they walk back and forth to the store. They have responsibilities to go back and forth to school. They're in their neighborhood, and then they're friends. They have friends, and their friends just so happen to have brothers and uncles and cousins that are involved in the life, the gang life. So they want to be a part of that because they're welcomed. They feel loved. They feel protected. I would think that would be a pro.
Um, so Miss Sharon said is right. Like being 17 years old in on my way to prison. Yeah, I knew who my homeboys was, who my homies was, and then I got to learn like, and this might go off topic, but I got to learn like these bloods, even though they're from all over the state, majority of these bloods are my homeboys too. So I didn't know about these people, and before I went to jail, I mean I
Mm-hmm.
might have knew of one or two because I actually did, but I'm from Sacramento. These dudes from L.A., San Diego, San Bernardino, Stockton, Fresno, and they all bloods, and we together. So
Mm-hmm.
that camaraderie, yeah, I felt it, tasted, and put in the work to 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 stand by and say that I am who I am and
Mm-hmm.
earn my respect the hard way. So that's I guess you could say gangbanging. I earn my respect the hard way by what they frown on, and that's violence.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have I been in gang riots? Yeah, that's gangbanging. If I wasn't part of that gang, would I have been in that riot? I would not have.
Hmm. Well, then what would you do?
You get eight.
Mm. So are you saying that in order to survive in prison, it's better to be a gang member?
No, it's better to stand on your own. But there are benefits to having homeboys and not being quote unquote a civilian. Like
Mm-hmm.
luckily for Sacramento, I mean, you could be a civilian and still be amongst gang members and have that protection. because it's an umbrella. But
Mm-hmm.
every city is not like that.
Mm-hmm. What are some myths about gangs? What do people or the what is the perception about gangs that society has that is just not true?
That gangbangers wear Dickies and Converse and tank tops and t-shirts and like no, that's the America's perception of a gang member. To me, my gang members or gang bangers, the real gangsters wear suit and ties.
Oh, really? Well, okay. Tell us more about that.
I ain't gonna go too deep into it, but real gangsters wear suit and ties. Just think of it, the mob,
Mm.
the old Al Capones, Lucky Lucianos, the real mob. Them was real gangsters. They wore suits and ties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, true that. This is a great discussion. If you all have other questions those of you who are in the chat, please do ask your questions now while we have this gang expert or gang former gang member on the panel while we have him. And if Nate Dogg taps back in, that would be great. Smoke Dog couldn't make it, and I don't think Dre is getting in here. I'm trying to text him, but he doesn't believe that's me. But that's okay. Let's move it right along. Whatever questions you have, put them in the chat. We're going to be ending this shortly. And we're waiting for them to come back from lunch. So just a second. I think there was one other question that I had or that came up in the chat. We talked about the roles or job descriptions that gang members or gangbangers have. Is it illegal to be a gang member? We talked about it is not illegal to be a gang member, but it is illegal to be a part of a gang that is organized crime and they are committing crimes in furtherance of the gang. And we talked about why people join gangs and as parents what we could do to prevent our children from being a part of a gang. And we talked about pros and cons of being a gang member, and we talked about gang myths. Those were all the questions that I had that came up yesterday as the gang expert was up there on the panel. So if you all could think of any other questions, that would be great. And if not,
I'll answer this one. Prison is another world, and who really wants that experience with wild acting human wolves?
mhm.
Wild acting human wolves. I gotta say that at first I was gonna debate that. I was ready, but that was a good way to put wild acting human because at the moment's notice it could turn savagery. But not all prisoners are bad people, so we're not all human wolves like that. There are those in there, but I guess that's an overall census that you were saying. And then who really wants that experience? I don't think anybody wants that experience until they're part of that experience.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, there has times in the history of my living, I heard people say, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to go back to the pen," and they go do stuff to go back and check in with their homies. But as far as like if they had a choice and they knew what was coming before they pulled that trigger, I don't think they would have did it if they knew what they was about to endure.
Mhm. Mhm. That's real talk. Real talk.
What happened? It is simple. I didn't understand consequences for my actions. Like I didn't understand that, and unfortunately, I didn't fully understand consequences for your actions until I was already in prison.
Mhm. Mhm. And by that time, how much time went past?
Um,
how much time went by before you were released into the world, understanding gang banging wasn't cool, or do you think gang banging is still cool? I mean, I don't
I
know if
never, no, I ain't never said gang banging cool. Yeah, I don't think gang banging cool. I think gang banging is a phase that people are in, and most grow out, and they grow out and become gang members, so they can provide and take care of their family and get past that, and not have to look over your shoulder. Gangbanger got to look over his shoulder.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Do you have an? You know what? Let me just play this one clip, and then I will. I have one last question for you. One second. Thank you so much for being here. We
Mhm.
appreciate
No problem.
you. Appreciate ya. Little commercial break, like. Adrena's Haven 916, a safe place. A safe place where you can come and tell your story, share your story, not his story, but your story. Adrena's Haven 916, bringing you those morning devotionals, taking you out into the community
I am so
where
grateful
we're
and
caring
thankful
for our
to
most
you for
vulnerable.
so many reasons. I am going to
Former United States President Bill Clinton has admitted his three strikes on CDC, sharing her family, and what you really lifestyle, going out into alternative life solutions, become a better, stronger you, helping kickstart alternative life solutions.
And we now know the name of a team.
Okay, thank you for that. So the last question that I had for you was your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Young Thug YSL RICO trial? I know it's a racketeering charge. However, um, his attorney's doing a great job. All the attorneys are doing a great job, and what they are alleged of, um, from what I've seen so far, Young Thug Jeffrey Williams, he did not commit any murders. He did not commit any crimes that they can prove. However, they are alleging that he was a leader and he was orchestrating these events. So they're going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt of that. So, in your opinion, if you have one at all, um, is YSL a gang?
Yeah, I am no lawman, but I think so. If you anything that has a leader that moves as one is a gang. So I think so. Using my common sense.
And is that also using your expertise of being around gang members and your knowledge of gangs?
Yes, if you got a hand signal and hand gestures and stuff, see, like they blood, so they take blood out there a lot different. I used to say a lot more serious, but California is the motherland for gangs. So I'm gonna say that because they not from the motherland, they take their blood a lot more serious and more organized. Because out there is a combination of two mind frames, and maybe and in some cases three, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
East Coast mentality mixed with the South.
Mm-hmm.
But what they rep come from the West. So they got the organization mentality from the East Coast mind frame, and then you got that brotherhood camaraderie from in the South. Combine that, you got a cold machine.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's deep. Okay, well, listen, I don't see any other questions in the comments. Drohilio says, in order to prevent our kids from being in a gang, start at home. We can live teenagers' life once our age can instill in them, then family surrounding to the community. Yes, I totally agree with that. Oh yes, Derek Chauvin, George Floyd's murderer. Yeah, he definitely got stabbed. He's in stable condition. Um, you know, even our authorities, our police departments, our men and women in blue have also been considered gangs.
Um, let me them wolves, them wolves. I don't, I just, I would like to hear your interpretation of wolves now. Like, is
Sharon, can
that
you
just
join the panel?
like
Nixie,
is that just a word that you use freely to describe everybody in prison? Because I'm starting to question wolf. Because I don't like we used to call ourselves. I ain't gonna lie. We used to call ourselves wolves and hyenas, wolves
mm,
and hyenas, and lions.
mm,
So maybe that's where I'm getting kind of thrown off because I always see myself as a lion.
mm-hmm. You know, you all can click the link and join the panel. You don't have to turn your camera on. I respect everyone's privacy. Uh, just join the discussion. I mean, you're welcome in the chat. That's fine. But if you want to come up, I would highly recommend you do that so we can continue this conversation because it's not just for us. It's not just for this platform, but this is for a lot of people for we can get an understanding and all thy getting, get understanding. And here we have, former gang members, former gang bangers who can actually help us with what not to do or how to the things to pay attention to when it comes to our children because sometimes we think we have it all figured out. We don't know what they're doing on social media. We don't know who they're communicating with. They have I call them the Eddie Haskells. All kids have an Eddie Haskell. Remember Eddie Haskell? He was that friend of Leave It to Beaver's older brother, and he came to the house with a smile.
Yeah.
Cleaver, hi, Mr. Cleaver. But he was the bad influence. What are these signs? What should we be looking for?
I well, from the parenting side, uh, I look at the music they listen to.
Great point. Great point. And I'm glad you said that because the music that they're listening to, the lyrics are coming into this trial as evidence. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into the trial as evidence. The judge is allowing it. Sharon says, I visited Chowchilla Women's Prison and inside I seen women who looked just like wolves strutting through during the chapel meeting. Women who looked like wolves scared the heck out of me. Looking like wolves. What do you mean? Like they're what do wolves do? They gather in packs. They run together. They run amok. Is that what you mean?
I think that maybe there's some sheep in Sharon that reacts toward being around uh predators, maybe not like predator like apex predators. Maybe that brings out something because like I don't see that. When I go back in prison and I play softball with the inmates, like I don't feel like I'm going in there with wolves, but I know I'm going in there with some people that if I come in there on a disrespectful page, yeah, it can't go down, whether I'm a free staff or not, whether I'm coming in to play sports with the inmates or not. But nothing happens. So do I feel like I just went in there with wolves and no? I guess I'm a wolf if they wolves.
Well, what she's saying is they were in packs and they were bent down and they were mimicking wolves. So that is engraved in her psyche. So
Yeah,
what?
because I've never I haven't had that personal experience, and I've been in and around prison a long time. But I think that is this one thing when you're part of it, and it's another thing when you have your perceptions outside of it. So I respect her opinions,
Very
and
good.
but if they're packs with people bent down mimicking wolves, I don't. That sound like I don't know what the hell that is. Who does that? But we have done a couple of things like Planet of the Apes,
Hmm.
Planet of the Apes, like the young homies as we was, because it was our duty to be gangbangers from like whatever age up to damn near 30, because you're a YG. But we used to do the Planet of the Apes thing where the apes go
Mm.
and that might be animalistic behavior.
I was wondering where that came from.
Oh, you talking about no? You talking about whoop?
That sounds the same to me.
No, that's different. One is the baboon sound, but
Mm.
whoop is whoop. That's different.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to take it. We're gonna have to take it at that. Okay, we'll have more discussion on this. I really appreciate you tapping in. I know you have a tedious work schedule. I thank you for taking your time out to join the panel. Thanks, shout out to Nate Dogg, and thanks and shout out to Benji and Smoke Dog. They were not able to
Oh,
be
oh, oh, oh don't worry. I'm charging you lunch.
here. Okay, okay, okay. Well, Sharon says, but now you're also right because there are wolves in sheep clothing and suits and ties. And that's another thing that I was going to say. That maybe in prison, and Sharon, it sounds to me like you maybe visit inside the prisons on some type of ministry. And as Dirty Weather also is involved in the prison ministry and goes in and plays softball amongst the men. And was it Folsom?
Mm-hmm.
Folsom Prison.
Folsom and then soon to be Jamestown.
Okay.
And if I get cleared, then I'll be going to play basketball in Vacaville.
Okay. 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 Very good. So it's different. For what I understand, when you go back in, when you go inside a prison on a prison ministry, it may look a little different than what we are seeing with our children out here in our neighborhoods and in our streets. They're not going to come to your house in packs if they know what type of parent you are. It's going to be that best friend or that alleged best friend who has brothers and cousins and family members and relatives that are involved in the gang lifestyle. And as a parent, how would I know that? Unless I ask questions and look at their attire, right? Make sure I'm clued in with their social media, and if they're
I,
doing like the gang signs and things, like I'm looking for signs.
signs. I would say signs and hand gestures and certain phrases. Like when I hear him say "gang gang," what gang? Gang gang, what gang? Are you playing throwing up a sign? Do you know what that means? And like when I see him do it, I quickly follow with education. Like, do you know where you at, or do you know what that means, or why are you doing it? Like, what is it? And a lot of times they say, "Oh, I'm just playing. I'm just throwing it up." But no, that stuff got meanings. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know who you listening to? Do you know what that person represent? Do you know this person, this person, this person, this person died because of him, or this situation happened, or this been going long? It's about the education. And one thing I can do is educate on the history of Sacramento and rounds. So when it comes to old gangs in Sacramento, like I'm a historian with that. So when it comes to like music that the kids listen to,
Mm-hmm.
I could tie it all way back so far, really so far. So it's about education and knowing, because you can change their life by their music, because that music can pull you in. Next thing you know, they bumping Mozzie in the middle of an enemy neighborhood and don't even realize it because they just like the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's real talk. And don't know that they probably shouldn't be playing that music in that particular neighborhood.
Yeah, that's part of
That's really
education.
sad. That's sad that it has come to that, because there are a lot of kids and adults, even myself. I don't know. I might just like a particular song. I may just be vlogging in a particular area or neighborhood. Point in case, I was vlogging in a particular neighborhood, and there was a mural of a person that was deceased. Stopped there, put on a video camera, and was speaking on it. And guess what? Somebody drove by and said F the person's name who died.
You
And I
don't
was
have to by yourself. I was
I
with you.
know. Yes, you were with me. I didn't want to, throw no names out there or anything, but
Rest in peace, Briss.
yes, yes, we stopped there at his what is it? What was it? Not
It's,
mural.
it's, it's, it's kind of like
Yes, the
where his visual was, but
visual.
he didn't get killed right on the sidewalk. He got killed in the drive-through. But the mural was on the sidewalk, and out of respect for both parties involved, they had a long-standing history that really didn't involve nobody else in Sacramento at
Mm-hmm.
that time. But so we went to pay our respects, as I would have did, just like I did with S Bone.
Mm-hmm.
And right, while we recording, somebody drove by it, said "F Briss" while we recording. But
That was very
but
scary to me.
yeah, Drina was like, "Let's go, we out of here."
Like cameras
And
off. Let's get in the car. Let's go. I'm not a part of that. I literally was just vlogging. I was doing a documentary on mothers of Black sons' lives matter,
but the
and
thing
I
was, but
was
the
by
thing
him.
was, do you remember one thing that was key is that for me it was like a reality check because remember the candles were stomped on.
Yes, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, wow, but we gotta look at where the location was. Franklin is right there at Fruit Ridge, so that's where two hoods meet. So we
Mm-hmm.
got
Mm-hmm.
killed on the intersection of Franklin and Fruit Ridge,
That was
and
very sad.
that was gang banging.
So the people who was passing by, that was gang banging.
Yeah, because they from Franklin.
Wow. So we
Like
could
I
just
remember,
be bystanders.
man, my phone died.
Okay. Okay, so Dirty Weather's phone died, and we thank him so much for that commentary and for joining our panel. We're going to go back to, if we don't have any other questions, and if no one else wants to join the panel, we're going to go back to watch the live trial. So if you need to step away for a second, I would encourage you to please keep the streaming on any device that you have in your house, whether it's your TV or your laptop or your phone. If you can just keep it streaming, that would be great. And we will pick this trial up when they return from lunch. Now, they be taking long lunches. So we're going to go back to the trial in just one moment. And thank you all so much for tapping in. And hey, if you have a YouTube channel, go ahead and type in the word Haven to drop your channel link, because teamwork makes dream work. If you have a channel, if you're here, you may not have any videos uploaded, but you definitely have a channel. And I definitely appreciate each and every one of you being here, and those of you who are going to catch this on the watch back. I'll try to clip this part and make a separate video because this is long, right? No one, a lot of people probably won't watch this back for 4, 5, 6 hour, live. So I'll try to do some shorter clips later on this afternoon. Okay, so I appreciate each and every one of you. Adrena's Haven 916, a safe place where you can come and tell your story, share your story, not his story, but your story. Adrena's Haven 916, bringing you those morning devotionals, taking you out into the community,
information. I am so grateful
where we're
and
caring
thankful
for our
to
most
you for
vulnerable.
so many reasons. I am going to
Former United States President Bill Clinton has admitted his 3 strikes on CDC, sharing her family, what you really lifestyle, a tent, going out into alternative life solutions. Become a better, stronger you, helping kickstart alternative life.